which is a lot like all the other shows I do, except this one is just me. So here I am. Happy Easter. I'll be celebrating later today as well in honor of my mom, who's Catholic. I'm part Catholic, part Jewish, which makes me a cashew. Who doesn't like a cashew? You tell me. All right. Getting off the track. Talking 49ers today. I have a lot of topics because there's so much news going on in Niners world. A ton. Let's get right into it. Brandon Aiyuk. According to the NFL Network's Mike Garafolo, the 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk are not close in their current contract negotiations, which I think everyone's reaction probably is like, duh, that's to be expected. It's still March. We've seen how the Niners do these contract extension negotiations forever. They drag them out. So they're far apart. Should you be concerned? I got a reason why maybe you should be a little concerned about this. The Niners are going to take as much time as they can. What's going to happen between now and early August when these extensions generally wrap up? Justin Jefferson's going to sign an extension. Jamar Chase is going to sign an extension. And it's probably, the Niners are going to wait as long as possible. That's what they want to do. So if and when those two guys sign their extensions first, then the market at wide receiver will get reset. And the highest paid wide receiver in the league right now is Tyreek Hill, who's making about $30 million a year. But once you take away the void years, it's really more like $28 million. Well, Justin Jefferson could get 30 or 32 or more. Hard to say. Can't predict. And if Justin Jefferson resets the market and Jamar Chase resets the market, then Brandon Aiyuk could feel more emboldened in his position. Him and his agent could feel like, you know what, let's not compromise. The market is trending in our direction. Let's stand firm. We're asking for more. In addition, if it drags out all year, all offseason, Brandon Aiyuk, who generally is the 49ers like Iron Man in practice, OTAs, mini camp, training camp, he's the guy playing his hardest every day. And that was since he was a rookie. So even if they do extend him and they extend him in early August, is he going to hold out the entire offseason? Is he going to do what Nick Bosa did last year? No one really got mad at Nick Bosa for holding out, but it didn't help his season. He definitely had his worst season in the NFL. Was it because he held out? That didn't help. Brandon Aiyuk is the Niners' most important weapon on offense, I think. More important than Christian McCaffrey, more important than George Kittle, more important than Deebo Samuel. They need to use him more. Every year they've used him a little bit more. He's increased his production 4 years in a row. This year should be his year that he goes crazy. He's in his prime. He's got the quarterback. He should be able to go for 1,600 yards this year if he's there all offseason. If he misses the whole offseason, how much is that going to affect his season? How much is that going to affect the 49ers? Talking about a Super Bowl hangover, the last thing they need is a Brandon Aiyuk holdout, even if he does eventually play on the fifth-year option or sign an extension. If Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase reset the market and the Niners just aren't willing to pay Brandon Aiyuk $28 million a year, and they say, come back and play for 14 on the fifth-year option, would he hold out into the season? And it's like, sure, that would hurt Brandon Aiyuk, but it would also really hurt the 49ers. They don't win if Brandon Aiyuk holds out into the season. They don't. This is the kind of stuff that leads to a Super Bowl hangover. A team that was just in the Super Bowl that misses the playoffs the following year, like the Niners did the last time they were in the Super Bowl, or a team that just falls short of what they should be. It seems to me that although the Niners always wait with these contract extensions, they always draw them out and make the player wait. I don't know that it's necessarily in the Niners' interest to do that this year. There's a lot of reasons to get this done now. The longer they wait, the more the price could go up. The longer they wait, the longer he could hold out, which would hurt their team. They're an older team. They've been keeping it together for year after year after year. They're not necessarily trying to make it better. They're just trying to keep it together as long as they can because they think that they'll win a Super Bowl eventually. Well, that window is closing. And the last thing they need, and like this, if this is the last dance for some of these older, the last thing they need is to be MIA all offseason. Because again, he should be the focal point of the offense, even more than last year. Last year, the focal point of the offense was McCaffrey. And that sort of got, I mean, to such an extent in the playoffs, he was the whole offense. He was their leading receiver and their leading rusher. And that didn't work so well. Chiefs shut that down. The guy they didn't shut down was Aiyuk. Kyle shut him down by not throwing him the ball. If Kyle had targeted Brandon Aiyuk 10 times in the Super Bowl, called his number, called those plays, would the Niners have won? Kyle went into the Super Bowl thinking, if I give Christian McCaffrey the ball 30 times, we can't lose. They lost. He touched the ball 30 times, they lost. What's the point of spending all this money on all these weapons to just feature one? This is the guy you feature. The Niners were 3 for 12 on third down. You know who their go-to guy is on third down? Aiyuk. Aiyuk during the regular season caught 18 passes on third down. You know how many picked up first downs? 18. He doesn't get the ball enough. Like, I'm not personal friends with Brandon Aiyuk. Brandon Aiyuk's a pretty salty guy. I don't know who he's friends with. I've been advocating for him since he was a rookie. And it's not because I know his mom. It's not. Objectively, he doesn't get the ball enough. McCaffrey gets the ball too much. Deebo gets the ball too much. If they give the ball to Brandon 70 times a season, targets. If they target him 10, 11 times a game in the playoffs, he just might win a Super Bowl. That's the kind of game-changing talent they have. So I don't know what they're trying to do here. You bent over backwards to make everyone else happy in your offense, but this guy might have to play in his 50th option. He's just going to get more expensive. You don't need him to hold out. You need him in the facility. And he's there. He's showing up now. He's really making it clear. I want to be here. Just pay me fairly. Acknowledge how good I am, which the Niners seem to have a tough time doing with Brandon Aiyuk, right? They'll say the right things. Oh, ever since he was in the doghouse, he's really gotten it together. Kyle had high expectations, but he really got it together. Yeah, sure. But when it's a really big game, are you calling passes for him? Are you calling passes for Deebo and McCaffrey? They have to show that they actually value him. You say you do, but are you going to lowball him in these negotiations? You're not going to be able to get Kyle Shanahan to go in at the last minute and be like, come on, Brandon, we're friends. Let's work this out. That's what he did with Deebo. Brandon's not going to do that. You have to actually say, look, we think you are number one wide receiver. Here's $28 million a year, and we're going to give you the ball enough to justify this. Are the Niners ready to do that? I don't know. They need to be. Let's talk Deebo Samuel. While the discussion all offseason has been the Niners going to extend Brandon Aiyuk, or could they trade him? If they trade anyone on the team, it should be Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel is clearly the highest paid player on the team. Not even close. Right now. His cap hit this year is $28 million. More than that. It's almost 10% of the Niners cap. Highest paid player just in terms of cap hits this year. Trent Williams 1, Deebo Samuel 2. It was Armstead, but the Niners took a real hard stance with him and said, you're too expensive. You got to go. You don't play enough, yada, yada, yada. Well, Deebo Samuel's right in that boat. He's just a couple years younger, 2 years younger. But he's just as expensive, gets hurt just as much. He doesn't have chronic injuries, but it's always something. And Next year, the 49ers can trade him and create a bunch of cap space. Won't hurt to trade him next year. I think trading Deebo Samuel next year is the move for the 49ers. They don't really need him anymore. He's a luxury. He's a luxury. He's not a number one wide receiver. He's not really a big part of their running game anymore. He's a good number two wide receiver for sure. He's a really good number two wide receiver, but you can't pay him this much money. He's paid to be not just a number one wide receiver, but a big part of the running game as well. And he's getting worse. He was frankly terrible in the Super Bowl. And it's going to be hard to forget that. Of all the 49ers weapons, was he the worst? I mean, they all were bad. Kittle was non-existent. Christian McCaffrey got every opportunity and did very little with it. And Deebo Samuel got every opportunity and couldn't catch the ball, couldn't get open. I don't see what they're holding on to here. He's not part of the future core. He was a great weapon when he was younger. He was a great gadget player when the rest of the league didn't really know what to make of him. I think people have kind of caught up to the way the Niners use him. I think they've seen all of their little trick plays for Deebo Samuel. They understand that he can't beat man-to-man coverage at all. And I think he's sort of overstayed his welcome here. What do you guys think? Once the 49ers starts, I mean, I'll put it this way. They can overspend, they can overpay Deebo Samuel one more time. Because as long as they're paying essentially nothing for their quarterbacks, do whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter. Just pretend you're spending that money on the quarterback spot. But once you make Brock Purdy the highest paid quarterback in the league, right? He's going to get 55 something million like that. You can't justify Deebo Samuel on your team anymore. You can't. You absolutely can justify Trent Williams on your team. You don't get rid of your Hall of Fame left tackle because you're paying your quarterback. You need both. You can justify having Brandon Aiyuk on the team. You don't get rid of your number one wide receiver, legit number one, when you pay your quarterback, if you can help it. But the $28 million gadget player, next year he'll be making 24. Be the last year of his contract. They could keep him, although he'll be 30 at the end of next season. Or they could trade him a year too early, as Bill Walsh would have done. I think that's what they should do. I'm not sure it's what they will do because Deebo Samuel and Kyle Shanahan are friends. They're BFFs. And it's hard to release a BFF because that's for life. Forever. But once the Niners start actually paying Brock Purdy, they have to be much more prudent with their roster. Having the highest paid fullback, not anymore. Having the highest paid gadget player, not anymore. Having the highest paid running back, not anymore. And we'll talk about McCaffrey in a minute. But these types of investments are investments teams make when you're not investing in the quarterback. Fine. You don't have the franchise guy. You're not paying for the franchise guy. Go crazy. Sign whatever. But that's not going to be the Niners in a year. So this is the last season of outrageous, irresponsible spending. Fine. Deebo's got to go next year unless he agrees to a massive pay cut, which he won't. So enjoy the Deebo Samuel experience. If you have a Deebo Samuel jersey, maybe sell it now. He's not going to be in this team that much longer, or he shouldn't be. One more guy, Christian McCaffrey. Is this going to be McCaffrey's last year on the team as well? Both McCaffrey and Deebo are signed through 2025. And as this team transitions to being more of a passing team, you got to wonder McCaffrey's value. And yes, I do think it's transitioning to more of a passing team. Look at the Super Bowl. They passed like 37 times. All those snaps with empty backfield, no one in the back, not even threatening a run or a play action pass. Like, we're just going to drop back and throw because we trust our quarterback, right? If that's what they want to do, if they trust Brock Purdy, they're going to pay Brock Purdy, they want to play that way, well, then maybe they need to save some cap space at running back too. What did we learn about Christian McCaffrey since he's been with the Niners? It's only been a season and a half. Since they got him here, their attitude was pretty much, let's give him the ball as much as physically possible and see what happens. It's kind of the attitude they should have with Brandon Aiyuk moving forward. Let's get this guy the ball as much as physically possible and see what happens. And I think they've taken that to its limit with Christian McCaffrey, especially in the playoffs. Leading receiver, leading rusher, great. Did that make the Niners offense as good as it could be? No. The offense kind of sputtered a little bit in the playoffs, especially in the Super Bowl, which was the Christian McCaffrey show. It was supposed to be his coronation. You went back and looked at Kyle Shanahan's dad, Mike Shanahan. How did he win the Super Bowl? Give the ball to Terrell Davis as much as he could physically handle. And that gave the Shanahans their only 2 Super Bowl victories. Well, I said coaches. Terrell Davis is a Hall of Fame running back. If you remember Terrell Davis, if you lived through the Terrell Davis era, he really was one of the best ball carriers of his generation, maybe ever. When it comes to that outside zone blocking scheme, I don't think I've ever seen someone run those plays better than Terrell Davis. He was just an automatic 5 yards. It carried nothing you could really do about it. He was that good. And if you gave him the ball 25, 30 times in the Super Bowl, you're probably going to win. So that's what they did. That's what they tried to do with Christian McCaffrey. Didn't work. 22 carries, 3.6 yards per carry, and a fumble and no touchdowns on the ground. That's not Terrell Davis. That's not Frank Gore. So what the Niners showed, we know exactly who Christian McCaffrey is. Great player. But is he the best ball carrier in the NFL? No. Derrick Henry is. Frankly, Raheem Mostert is a better ball carrier than Christian McCaffrey. Faster. Runs just as hard, if not harder. McCaffrey's a very good ball carrier. He's very well-rounded. He does good vision, quickness, speed, but he's not the fastest, the biggest, the most powerful. I mean, he's just B plus A minus in every single thing as a ball carrier. Where he makes his money, the reason he's considered the best running back in the league is because you take above average ball carrying, with outstanding receiving for a running back. He's the best receiver of all the running backs in the NFL. Of all the running backs, he's the best receiver, but that doesn't make him a great receiver. It makes him a great receiver for a running back. There's a difference. Here's what I'm saying. The Niners offense, very explosive, 30 points per game, so many games. But in the Super Bowl, which was the Christian McCaffrey coronation, supposed to be 19 points in regulation, 3 on third down. It really highlighted that there's not much McCaffrey you can do for the offense on third down. That's the money down. That's what cost the Niners in the Super Bowl. And you go back and look at the regular season, McCaffrey was like their 5th option on third down on passing plays. The most targeted receiver, the guy who had the most first down catches on third down, Aiyuk. Then Kittle and Deebo. Then Jennings. Then McCaffrey. So it seems that if the Niners are going to get over the hump and win the Super Bowl, they have to improve their third down offense. Their quarterback is too good. Their number 1 wide receiver is too good for them to be 3 for 12 on third down. And the way they improve that is improving their offensive line and improving pass protection over prioritizing pass protection over the run game. So McCaffrey, I just feel like he's a little overrated. His impact is a little overstated. Very good runner, but his values as a receiver, and there's only so much a running back can do out of the backfield. Like, how many routes are you running from out of the backfield? Where are you catching the ball? Probably at the line of scrimmage. How many guys are you going to make miss? You're going to average like 8 yards a catch as a receiver. You put him out, you flex him out to wide receiver, you put him in the slot. How many routes is he running? What's his route tree? Who can he really beat? Really, if you're putting a pecking order of the Niners receivers, he's 5th. Aiyuk, Deebo, Kittle, Jennings, all better route runners and more dangerous than him as a receiver. I feel like the Niners may have outgrown Christian McCaffrey too. Again, while Brock Purdy's making $900,000 a year, the more the merrier. Stick around. But next year when he's 30 and McCaffrey's making all that money, and Purdy's making all that money, you got to make some business decisions. And I think this is one place the Niners could not only save money, but recoup assets. Trade McCaffrey. You didn't draft him. He's a mercenary. Send him on his way. He's a running back. And you literally attempted to give him the ball as much as he could physically possibly handle, and it didn't work out. It didn't lead to a better result in the Super Bowl. Like, you went to the Super Bowl without McCaffrey and scored 20 points in regulation. With McCaffrey, you scored 19. So you tried that. It didn't work. You have running backs on this team who run hard and fit the system, and Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason. It's time to really commit to the passing game. I'm not saying become an unbalanced offense, but then now that the Niners have their quarterback, allegedly, you have to make the passing game as good as it can be. And investing all this money in a running back who runs choice routes out of the backfield sometimes. He had 5 first down catches on third down last season. 5. The whole year. So his value as a receiver is on first and second down and checkdowns and stuff. Screens. Cool. But that's what you have Deebo for. Frankly, they could have just kept Mostert. I'm sorry. Like, they could have just kept Mostert. Sorry. Is McCaffrey better than Mostert? Yes, because of the receiving. But is McCaffrey's receiving really transcending anything about... No. Not at all. Let me see if we got any super chats. We haven't had them recently. My computer's kind of slow today. What's up, computer? Comments. What's up, my computer? Maybe it's a StreamYard issue. Nope. You sound dumb right now, someone said. Mike Drops with Monster says, Cabo Click is what Niners culture is. Those players rep... Hold on. Cabo Click is what Niners culture is. Those players rep the culture when the culture should be everything Aiyuk embodies. I have a theory on Aiyuk Doghouse, and it's based on the culture difference. Yeah, I think culture is a good word to use right now. It's not the word I would go with, but I know what you mean. And I think what's kind of interesting is you talk about trading Brandon Aiyuk or Deebo Samuel, and everyone's game for those business conversations because they're fair conversations to have. You should be able to discuss trading Brandon Aiyuk or trading Deebo Samuel and the merits and the possible downsides. But you talk about trading Christian McCaffrey, people get upset. You sound dumb. Let's shut this down. Let's not talk about it. Okay. All right. I think it's worth talking about. And I wonder why people shut that conversation down. I wonder. It's like, Niners didn't draft Christian McCaffrey. He's been here a year and a half. Curious. I want to do some Bet US real quick. I got to sign in. Just a second. Because they got a new prop bet up. I love Bet US for their futures. They call them futures. I'll show you right now. Let's share the screen. Okay. Boom. Nope. Yes. Okay. Bet US futures. Regular season wins futures. So let's look around the league a little bit. Jets. 9.5 wins. That's pretty high. But they got Aaron Rodgers, so that's why. Let's look at the Chiefs. 11.5 wins. 11.5 wins. So better team, best team in the league. How about Detroit? Detroit Lions. 10.5. Okay. All right. Okay. What about Green Bay? Green Bay Packers. 10 wins. Okay. What about Atlanta? I want to know. 10.5. People think Atlanta's going to be good. What about the Rams? 8.5. 8.5. Oh, give me that. Give me that. Give me that. Give me that. Over. Let me get the over on the 8.5 for the Rams. I don't understand because they lost Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald's been retired. Confirm. Okay. Well, let me go back. I'm not done. I'm not done. No. Okay. How about Chargers? 8.5? That's easy money. Over. $10. Placing my bet. Confirm. I'm not done. No, because I know all the answers. Who else we got? Jacksonville? Oh, yeah. Let's check out Jacksonville. 8.5 wins. I'm going to take the under because I think their whole team's going to get hurt. How about that? Place my bet. Yeah, Jacksonville. Not impressed. What else we got? Arizona. 6.5 wins. Over. That team's going to be money. 10. Place my bet. Yup. What they got? What about Baltimore though? I'm gonna get to the Niners. Don't worry. I'm gonna get there. Baltimore. 11.5. Interesting. I'm gonna hit the over on that. Derrick Henry. Oh, what? Oh, I gotta actually put an amount down. I'm just getting too excited over here. Okay, it's Niner time. No. Oh, see, I didn't place my bet, but BetUS kept it for you because they're great. Okay, Niner time. 11.5 wins, of course. Over or under 11.5 wins? Super Bowl hangover? Or they always do well in the regular season? Brandon Aiyuk might hold out. They got Brock Purdy. I'm feeling optimistic today. Hold on, let's look at the difference though. If I put $10 on the Niners going over, I get $11.50. But if I put them on the under, I could put them on both. I could bet on both. How about that? $6.90. Nice. I'm betting the over just because I get more money. Interesting how you get more money if I guess Vegas expecting them to be under. I'm going over just for the action. Place my bets. BetUS. Confirm. Oh yeah, that's how it's done.
BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook and casino. Live betting and racebook. We're celebrating 30 years with a historic offer. A 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits. Plus 10% gambler's insurance. Get started today. BetUS, where the game begins.
Oh yeah. Okay, back to the show. Thank you, BetUS. Brock Wright. The Niners have finally made an addition to their offense, although it's not official. They've given Brock Wright a 3-year, $12 million offer sheet, which he's signed. He's a restricted free agent. The Lions can choose to match it. It doesn't look like they will. So Brock Wright, what do you need to know about him? Why do the Niners want Brock Wright? 3 years, $12 million. It's the same offer it's the same contract that Charlie Warner signed with the Falcons. So you'd think the Niners could have just brought back Charlie Warner if they wanted him. But it seemed like they had that money budgeted out for the number 2 tight end and decided Brock Wright would be a better choice than the guy that they drafted and developed for 4 years. Well, what's different about him? Because the Falcons wanted Charlie Warner. Charlie Warner is a specialist to a degree. He's a tight end. Tight ends do a little bit of everything, but he doesn't really catch passes. They threw him 3 last year. And he doesn't really do anything for the passing game. Block, catch, run routes. But in the running game, he's quite a blocker. He's an excellent run blocking tight end. He is a run blocking specialist. And on this team that's been working around their quarterback forever, he was nice. They wanted a guy like that. They didn't want much from their backup tight end more than a guy who was a run blocker. But their offense is different now. Again, go back to the Super Bowl. What was their the formation that they used the most? 5 wide. They used to be I formation. Yeah. Not a spread offense, an I formation compact offense with wide receivers real close to the offensive tackles and tight ends. In the Super Bowl, they went away from that. And they went to a very much a one-dimensional drop back passing offense with no deception. But they have all these weapons. They want to put them out in the pattern and really stress defense is fine. And they have a quarterback who is comfortable in those empty backfield formations, fine. But the Niners really couldn't block. They had the 5 blockers. They kept getting blitzed, and they couldn't pick them up. And it doesn't seem like they have anyone that they really trust to pick up blitzes, to be a pass protector who's not an offensive lineman. Like, not Charlie Warner. Kittle can do it, right? Kittle, you can keep Kittle in and have him block as an extra offensive lineman, but that's not what you're paying Kittle to do. That's not the right usage of Kittle. He's too good of a receiver to use that way. So he needs to be in the pattern. I mean, Juszczyk isn't blocking anyone in pass protection. McCaffrey isn't blocking anyone in pass protection. Brock Wright can. That's how the Lions use him a lot, as an extra offensive tackle in pass protection. And you know the Niners have been looking for a guy like that. 2 years ago in the NFC Championship game, they lost to the Eagles when they had Tyler Kroft in pass protection on a play-action play against Hassan Reddick. So they want someone who can do that. And it's not Warner. It is Brock Wright. So I think you're seeing a little bit of the evolution of the Niners offense to an offense that's a little bit more geared toward passing. I wonder if that'll bear itself out in the draft as well. Because we all know the Niners need more good pass protection on their offensive line, and that most of those guys that are there for their run blocking. 4 of those guys are there for their run blocking. Everyone except Trent Williams. So if they're bringing in a backup tight end who actually is a pass blocking specialist, then maybe they'll do some of that at right tackle and right guard in the upcoming draft. That would be nice. Because how are you ever going to really know how good Brock Purdy really is until you give him everything he needs on offense, not just on defense? So I think that's why the Niners are interested in Brock Wright, the way that he was used in pass protection. The Niners need someone who can help Colton McKivitz. If they want to put all their guys out in the pattern, Colton McKivitz is on an island. They need someone in the backfield, someone to chip, someone somewhere to do something to help Colton McKivitz. He's the worst right tackle in the league in pass protection. And the Niners are okay with that because he's a good run blocker. Someone needs to help him. Brock Wright. Let's talk about the other Brock on the team. You may have heard of him, Brock Purdy. Quarterback, good player. And what's interesting about Brock Purdy is that his regular season numbers are just phenomenal. And they've been phenomenal since he stepped into the league. His first game, well, he came in relief of Jimmy Garoppolo against Kansas City. Didn't go so well. But then he came in relief of Jimmy Garoppolo against the Dolphins when Jimmy broke his foot and was just great. And has pretty much been playing at that level since that game. And that level is, 68% completions, 69, 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, among the highest yards per attempt in the league, just off the charts in every metric. A quarterback rating of about 110, 111, just consistently for about a season and a half. And you're thinking, that's a guy who's worth $60 million a year. Like, I don't care what his skill set is. That's just phenomenal production for almost 2 seasons. What more do you want? Sure. That's all true. But then you got to look at his playoff numbers and ask yourself why they're so different and why they're so consistent. Like in the regular season, he's consistently a guy whose quarterback rating's around 110, 111. I just laid out his regular. Most games, he does that. But then in the playoffs, 4 in a row. The last 4 that he made it through without getting injured, his quarterback rating was below 90. And each time his completion percentage is down, his yards per attempt are down. He has a bunch of dropped interceptions. Like, he's had 4 games in a row. I just said it in the playoffs that he finished, or his quarterback rating was below 90. And in each of those games, he had multiple passes that could have been intercepted and were dropped. So I think if you've been watching him closely, it's not the same in the playoffs. And the question is why? How could someone who makes it look so easy, who's so dominant, who's an MVP candidate in the regular season, sort of come back down to earth in the playoffs? Well, we've seen it with other quarterbacks. We see it with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is a 2-time MVP, but in the playoffs, he kind of struggles. Now, Brock Purdy, I'm not saying he struggles like Lamar in the playoffs because he doesn't. But he goes from being magical to being serviceable. He doesn't get you beat in the playoffs at all. He goes from being a gunslinger and a playmaker to a game manager. Frankly, a game manager who can avoid pressure and get away from some sacks, make smart decisions, not turn the ball over, although he has had a bunch of potential picks dropped. But that's sort of what he's become in the playoffs. So what is Brock Purdy? Is he the guy who lights it up in the regular season? Or is he the guy who puts up modest numbers in the playoffs? They have to answer that question. Because when it comes to the contract negotiation or whatever they're going to offer him, if they're giving him $55 million a year, are you doing that so he can be the regular season king? Or are you doing that because you think his numbers in the playoffs have been an anomaly, a function of a small sample size, and over time, his numbers in the playoffs will be just like they are in the regular? You tell me. They got to answer that question. And fortunately for them, they don't have to extend him yet. They can watch one more season. I think that's important. I'd want to watch one more season. Like, they're taking a hard line with Brandon Aiyuk. He's been in the league for 4 years. He's been extremely consistent. That's a guy who's pretty much proven. Brock has played a year and a half. I'd love to hear your guys' theories as to why Brock Purdy can't crack 90 for a quarterback rating in the playoffs. What are teams doing? I mean, he didn't face great defenses in the playoffs this year. Green Bay's defense wasn't great. Detroit's defense certainly wasn't great, but they both did a pretty good job against him. They didn't shut him down. They didn't make him look like Jimmy Garoppolo, but they didn't let him look like the Brock Purdy we've come to know. So what's going on in the playoffs? Is the coaching better? Are the game plans better? Is the book out on Brock? I don't know. He's still a really good quarterback, but is he worth $55 million a year? Why is he so modest in the playoffs? I don't know, but he is. Someone says because the offensive line. Okay. That's possible. And that's why I think the Niners really need to invest in their offensive line this year. They need to really know exactly how good Brock Purdy is before the end of this year. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that he's a fraud or that he's been figured out, but those games in the playoffs indicate that we still don't really know who Brock Purdy is. There's regular season Brock and there's playoff Brock. And regular season Brock's a whole lot better. That's who you'd be paying right now. And that's not who you want. You need regular season Brock to be playoff Brock. And he's not. Not yet. So until he proves that he can dominate like that, maybe take it slow. Maybe pump the brakes. Because I feel like Brandon Aiyuk has proven he can dominate. And the Niners are like, sorry. It's a lot of good players in this league. We can't pay everyone. Okay. We'll keep that same energy with Brock. Just saying. One more thing. Couple more things. I think return man is a big, big need for the 49ers. And I think they know it. I don't think these teams want to talk about it very much, but the new kickoff rule sort of changed how they prioritize positions. And all of a sudden, kick returner, which had been kind of phased out of the game, wasn't something you really needed to invest in because the guy, it was a ceremonial play anyway. It was just a kick. It was just a touchback. Now it's not. It's going to be returned more than 50% of the time. And if your kick returner stinks, that's going to hurt your offense. And if your kick returner is good, that's going to help your offense. So Kyle wants his offense to be good. He doesn't want to start at the 17-yard line consistently. Can't count on just starting at 25 anymore. So it seems like teams that value their offense are going to, or value field position in general, are going to be looking for kick returners. We saw the Chiefs just signed a rugby player, one of the best rugby players in the world, and he's probably going to be their returner. So teams are starting to think differently. How do we adjust with these new rules? And I'm not saying the Niners aren't adjusting, although they were one of 3 teams that voted against this rule, so maybe they didn't want to adjust. But it's a new rule. Ray McCloud is gone. Who's going to be the returner? It could be someone on the team, or it could be someone they draft relatively high. They could take a returner in round 1. Cooper DeJean, DB from Iowa, also was the Big Ten return man of the year. He could work, although he's more of a punt returner. What is the Niners' plan here? Because they filled every other need in free agency. They really have. Backup tight end, number 3 corner, linebacker, everything that they have a vacancy, everywhere they have a vacancy, they filled it, except return man. They let Ray go, and they're just like, well, we have Ronnie Bell. Like, that's not serious. No offense to Ronnie Bell, but we all saw Ronnie Bell fumble 8 times. Like, no, he's not an option. So I have to think the Niners are going to add someone. Could be early in the draft for the punt returner, maybe Cooper DeJean, round 1. Or for the kick returner, it's going to be so strange. You feel the ball like the 2-yard line, and then people start running. Maybe, the idea is that the collisions are going to be less violent. Because the velocity of the players will be lower, less of a running start. So if it's more like a play from scrimmage with less velocity on the collisions, then it's even more reason to use up one of your stars as a kick returner, right? We've seen the Niners use Deebo Samuel as a kick returner in the past. Why not now? You're paying him $28 million. You don't use him at running back anymore. He's not your number 1 wide receiver. You got to get him to earn his paycheck. Put him at kick returner. You've done it already. It seems probably even more reason to do it now, especially considering it could be his last season on the team. And what you could do is have 2 guys back. You could have Deebo Samuel on one side and Christian McCaffrey on the other. Pick your poison. Who would you rather kick the ball to? That seems like a really good use of the 49ers' extremely expensive backfield. Put them on special teams. If you did it with Deebo last year, do it this year. Because you're running out of ways to get... Let's focus on Deebo. Who would be more dangerous as a kick returner, Deebo or McCaffrey? Probably Deebo. Maybe McCaffrey would be more consistent, but Deebo is just runs harder. He's more explosive. So you're running out of ways to get him the ball. He can't beat man-to-man coverage. There's no carries left over to give him because you have Christian McCaffrey. So make him a return man. He might actually make a bigger impact there than on offense, man. I'm just saying, something to think about. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's the Niners' plan. Deebo, a kick returner. He's got 2 years left in his deal. You're probably going to trade him next year. What are you saving him for? He's getting worse. Give him the ball on special teams. That's what I'm thinking. My mic sucks? That's fun. Okay, well, I think it's time to end the show. It's Easter, and I think Jesus was saying, Grant, enough. Because Jesus was Jewish. You know that. It's true. True story. So, congratulations to Jesus and the 49ers. It's a big day. Easter, man. Easter, big day. I'm going to go celebrate it. Because I'm a cashew. That's right. Have a good one.